Well, welcome back, JD. It's sad that it's come to this to talk to you again, but uh, first of all, I think with Alberta Handball, we wish you guys all the best, and hopefully everyone's going to be healthy and you guys are taking care of yourselves. So that's number one.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. A big thing, I think a lot of talk is kind of what all kind of played out. Last time we talked, you guys were preparing in Denmark and things were going well. And then I think a couple days later, the news came out that there was some positive test. Is it possible to talk about like how it all went down and how you guys found out?
I'll tell you as much as I'm informed and allowed to disclose, I think, here. So, yeah, as you know, we're all planned to get ready. So the team had a test done that they needed to have travel to Cairo. The airlines, that's an airline requirement, as well as the COVID protocol for the tournament that a negative test was required to enter Egypt. Um, Contrary to some of the opinions out there, we only needed one negative COVID test prior to entry, and then you would need another COVID test upon arrival at the airport in Cairo. I believe the COVID protocol had you, when you landed in Cairo, you got tested, and once you had a negative test at the airport, then you would go to the hotel where you would get tested again, and then when you had a negative test, you could go to your room. So you're getting tested quite a bit. At least that's what the guys over there right now are doing. But as far as our team goes, I had tested negative, and had negative test results. So I had originally planned to go on January 12th to the technical meeting, because otherwise our flights weren't going to get there in time for one of the coaches to arrive at the technical meeting with the jerseys and things like that. So I was taking, all the jerseys and stuff like that so that we'd have them ready. Now, Pat Jalabert was flying in as head of delegation to assist me at the technical meeting. And if I were unable to make it, we were going to have pictures of all this stuff just in case, which the IHF said was fine given the circumstances of everything. I also had to use pictures of everyone's passports because of the same situation. Like I couldn't have the actual passports
Yeah.
because players obviously needed them to travel. So I was on my way, or I was packing up, and when I got my news of the negative, we had news that there was 18 positive, which was part players, part staff. So there's definitely some huge disappointment, confusion, and just overall sadness, I think, with the team. But we, like many people realize, we still had, intentions to send a team, and we were frantically trying to put together what the coaching staff as well as the rest of the roster would look like, because we were, with the tournament, we're allowed 20 players. So if we had 12 players at that time that had tested negative, so they'd be okay to travel, we were in the process of trying to figure out if we could call up 8 more players from the provisional list. And the IHF was okay, obviously, with that, because we didn't have to make final roster announcements until the morning of the 13th. So we were working on that, and during that time, I was flying to Germany as my connection flight, and then to Egypt, and I didn't receive any different news or anything like that. But when we got to Egypt, I didn't have any mobile data or Wi-Fi or anything like that, and so I didn't know what was going on with the rest of the team, and I was basically being held in a room because I had ended up testing positive in Egypt. So they sent me back to Germany, and basically, it wasn't until then that I had realized what all had happened with our team and things like that. So I was completely in the dark that we had withdrawn from the tournament. And yeah, it was definitely a huge disappointment for everybody involved.
So you got a test in Denmark before you got on the plane,
Correct. Yeah.
and that was negative.
Correct.
And so so you were in Egypt.
Yeah, I was physically in Egypt. I was the only one of our group at the time, and then Pat Jalbert. I saw him while they had me in a holding room. I saw him, so I waved to him. But the two of us were the only two of our group that made it to Egypt.
So then as soon as you were positive, did they give you another test to double check?
They did more tests in Egypt than I've done for any of these other and new, a different test. So normally there's two ways that I've had three, now four different methods. So the first test I took in the U.S. was they said they only go in about like a half an inch, and it's much longer, but it's a thicker nasal swab. Okay, so that was the first one I had done, which wasn't great, but it
Yeah.
wasn't bad. The
Yeah.
second is the more normal, the long kind of swab, the brain swab, as some people call it. And then the third one is back of the throat swab. So they'll just kind of do a quick run across the back of your throat. And then what they did in Egypt was they did a nose, the to the brain one, and then they did a swab of the mouth, and they took the same swab that they use to swab in your mouth, which is the thicker one, and they put that in your nose as well and
The
held it.
same.
And yeah, and it's not the same. It's probably twice as thick as the one they normally go in extra deep with. So it was very painful. My nose, I mean, here we are 2 days later, and I can still, my nose like still is in pain. It was one of those things that it's not just like, oh yeah, it hurts, but it's actual pain from the test. Um, so yeah, so they did a pretty thorough, I would say, check there in Egypt. And then, yeah, so they told me that they did the quick test basically for the first one, and they said that I tested positive. So they put me in a room, and they said, you know, just wait here and we'll get the rest of the results. And they didn't say anything to me again for another 6 hours. And when they did, they said you tested positive with the PCR, and now you have to leave the country. So they put me in a van and took me to the back of an airplane and said, "Get on the plane. You have to leave." And that was it. I didn't have a ticket. I didn't have anything. I had, check bags. I was like, I can't put my check bag on the plane. It doesn't fit. And they said, "Okay, figure it out." So yeah, so I ended up here in Frankfurt, Germany. So yeah,
So
it's been a wild ride.
you were positive, and they put you on a regular plane
Yeah, yeah,
with other people on it.
that's correct. Yeah,
That sounds safe.
yeah. So it's been a very interesting story thus far.
So
Um,
so at what point did you did it like did you guys all find out that all these people have tested positive when you were on the flight to Egypt?
I think, yeah, when I was on the flight to Egypt is when everybody kind of puts everything together as far as the status of our team. But um, I knew about the people that test positive the same time I found out I was negative in Denmark. So,
Okay.
um, but it's one of those things that, we're still going through, piecing the whole storyline together as to who tested positive when and how this situation could have unfolded and things like that. And it's very frustrating because just the nature of the virus that we probably should have had to have everyone self quarantine for X number of days prior, but it's one of the hard parts that you probably should have had everybody get tested a week prior to leaving, and then get tested the 72 hours prior to flying for the plane's requirements. So that way we could have known that people were at least somewhat better off, because no someone could have brought it with them on their plane or train or however they got to the camp.
Yeah.
could have got it from somebody, just passing by at the camp. There's a lot of unknowns still.
But you guys were getting, like, from what videos I saw, you guys got tested a few times while at camp.
Yeah. Everyone tested negative on January 6th. So we all tested negative. Now that was a quick test, so there's still obviously a lot of, discussions about the validity of testing and things like that. But yeah, that's where one of the, biggest, you know, heartaches is that everyone had tested negative while we were at camp, and so there was this sense, like, just how on earth was this even possible? But
Yeah. And from the last time I talked to you, I mean, it's sounding like you guys had doctors, and I mean, you even said yourself that you were kind of making sure everyone wear their masks, everyone take those precautions, which obviously then it's just, yeah, it's just kind of crazy at all how it went down.
yeah. I mean, we had 2 doctors on staff, and uh, some other doctors in the group chats with us and things like that, and we had masks available for everybody. We um, limited the number of. I mean, there was just there's only so many things you can do, and that's just the hard part of all of this, is that sure, we probably could have done 1 or 2 things differently, but we felt at the time we were still following the rules as best as possible. And even had we done things differently, I don't think there's any guarantee that we wouldn't have had the same result. So
Yeah, yeah. And now, again, I'll ask this. I don't know if you can answer. Was it USA's Handball's Federation's decision to drop out, or was it IHF?
I think again, I'm not. I don't know the full details surrounding it, but I'll tell you what I am privy to. But I think between discussions with Robert, as well as the rest of the US Team Handball leadership group, there was a feeling that it was probably in the best interest, as well as I think the IHF did have some input into it. But I think at the end of the day, all parties kind of agreed it was the best path. But it's hard for me to agree with that, especially after watching the South Korean team today.
Yeah.
And they sent their basically junior team to get wrecked by Slovenia. So
And Austria
I don't
lost.
know. I don't know. You're right. Exactly. So that's, to me, that's really hard, is that I know that I was very confident that we were probably going to win that game against Austria, and then to go see Switzerland come in and pull it off, it's like that very easily should have been us. And I think the stat for me from the first half was I think the Swiss goalie only had 1 save the entire first half. It's like, I know our goalies would have done significantly better than that, so we probably could have won pretty handedly. I don't know, but that's just my own personal bias, probably.
So how, obviously you guys probably have group chats. How's everyone doing, like, health wise, and like just disappointment in missing
Yeah,
it?
I think we've moved on from the phase of disappointment a little bit. I know it's definitely going to sit in for quite some time, especially as long as these games are going on.
Yeah.
Um, but physically, a lot of the guys are doing just fine. I mean, none of them had any symptoms and things like that. So obviously, it's still an evolving situation. It could be a dormant period for the virus if they end up getting testing positive and things like that. But otherwise, I know I keep tabs with the guys that are still in Denmark quarantining right now. They're all making the best of the situation as they can.
So is everyone quarantining? Has everyone had to stay? Obviously, you flew back from Egypt, so you're
Yeah.
in Germany. But is everyone else still in Denmark?
Yeah, so the ones that had tested positive, they still have to quarantine in Denmark, and the ones that had tested negative, they were able to get home. So there's still a good solid group back in Denmark, waiting until they're allowed to travel.
Okay. And how long are you in Germany for then?
It's an undetermined amount of time. I've been told could be as early as January 19th, could be as late as January 27th. So Um, I don't know yet. I'm working with some doctors here as well as our doctors and staff to figure out what all needs to be done. So
And
it's an
so
evolving situation.
when you flew back to Germany and you got off the plane, what was the protocols? Did you just have to find a hotel or?
It was a very interesting situation. So the plane lands, and I had a whole row in the back of the plane to myself. There was, several rows of buffer basically so that nobody would be around me. The flight attendants, as soon as I got on the plane, gave me like a special, N95 mask so that it's better filtration and things like that. And then during the course of our flight, someone else on the plane had, I think, passed out or something like that. So we basically had two injured people on the plane. And so when we landed, there was a whole crew of ambulance and police and everything. Um, so they came, and the German doctor interviewed me, and we talked, and he's like, okay, yeah, we'll have you escorted and figure things out here. So they basically took me off the plane, and I was under police escort. Holy cow, pretty much the whole day. So for like, I don't know, it was probably like close to 14 hours, I think. So they walked me to a place where we like kind of sat down, explained the whole situation with the police. They talked to their boss. There was a lot of talking to everybody's boss and trying to figure out what needed to be done. After about 2 hours of that, we then went to the COVID testing center. They had me get a test because even though there's a lot of like problems in the story, but basically I needed another negative test to leave Germany per German kind of regulations and Lufthansa as well. Because I don't know that you have to have a negative test to enter the US right now. I think someone's told me that. I don't quote me, um, but the airline won't let me on the plane without a negative test. So then we get tested, and we have to wait for the results. I paid for a 6-hour results test, and ended up taking eight or 9 hours, so that delayed our process. And so when I tested positive, they told me that I was going to go. They're going to send me to a hotel to quarantine, which ended up taking another probably, I don't know, 4 hours after that before I got to the hotel. And the whole time I was basically babysat by the police. But now I'm here in this nice hotel here in Frankfurt, and yeah,
Wow, that's just crazy.
it's been a wild ride.
And what have you like? Have you been keeping in touch with all the U.S. players and just keeping in touch with what's going on?
Yeah. We were all in a group chat, kind of just touching base, making sure the people that did leave, they got home okay, and the ones that are still quarantining, that they're doing just as fine as they can, and making sure there's no, further development of any illnesses or amongst anybody.
Yeah. Are you able to watch all the games?
So I actually have the game up right now for
The
France
France
and
Norway game?
Norway. So that's good. And then I have it on my phone as well for ESPN Plus, so we can help boost the viewership there. Because one of the things that we need to do is this ESPN's using this as a kind of baseline to gauge the level of interest so that they can assess whether to have future handball events in the future. I said that future twice, but so yeah, so that's why I'm trying to make sure everybody and their brothers watching on ESPN Plus that can, so that way we can help, lock down further ESPN deals.
Did it affect at all with ESPN that you guys had to drop out? Was there worry that they were going to cancel the rights?
Yeah, there was a bit of a hiccup that with us no longer being the tournament, that ESPN hadn't put anything out there as far as coverage, and so we were talking with the folks at Sport 5 to make sure that even though we as the U.S. are not competing, it doesn't mean we still don't want to promote handball. So luckily, ESPN saw that there's still an opportunity and still want to pursue this potential, and they're still broadcasting 2 games a day. So first game today, they did Austria, Switzerland, and I think they're doing the France-Norway game. So it's been good. There was some technical difficulties in the first game with the commentary audio not being there for I think the first like 5 minutes or so. So they figured that out. And then the other issue that I saw at least was the video quality was pretty it looked like it was grayed out. I thought it was my computer, like one of those situations where you have you're not clicking on that screen, so it kind of fades away. That's what it looked like, but it was just like that at all times. So I'm not sure if that was a feed issue or what, with something with the camera maybe, but
I think
either
that
way, I'm happy to have handball. So
I think that's the same thing with YouTube. When I was watching
okay,
the Norway game, it's the quality is not the greatest in
like
that game.
okay, that's weird. And we as we say that right now, I'm watching it on. I have the German TV up as well, and it's I don't know if it's the quality here, but it's the same kind of thing. It's hit or miss. So I don't know. It might be the venues. They might have lighting issues or it's something like that. I don't know. I know that all these arenas are pretty new.
Yeah.
I think almost all of them are brand new except for the one in downtown Cairo.
Yeah. And then who's doing the commentary for ESPN?
Paul Bray. So he's doing all the games. He normally does, I think, the Olympics. I think.
Okay, so is ESPN just using the same feed as YouTube then?
Yeah, I think so. I should be. Yeah.
Is that who's doing the commentary for the France-Norway game?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
They're just redirecting the broadcast.
Okay, and you don't know the numbers. It's not like you can check on what kind of numbers for ESPN.
Oh, you're saying like how many viewers so far,
Yeah.
or something like that? Yeah, I don't have any idea. But I think the plan is that once this is all said and done, we'll be talking with Sport 5 and ESPN to try to get those numbers to gauge for our own personal, Melissa and Ryan and the rest of the USA Team Handball. Well, that's the rest of the staff, but for them, for their own personal kind of how we're going to continue to grow initiative.
How do you know how the ESPN deal came about?
As someone who was a part of the process, yes, I don't have a problem sharing that. I think a lot of props need to go to John Ryan.
Oh,
He is a huge, in my opinion, a huge piece of the puzzle. As you know, he's very active on social media and things like that, and that has led to a lot of good conversations with a lot of different people. Some of those being high up execs at ESPN, and he's kept in contact with said people over the years, and was fortunate enough to use a connection within US Team Handball to kind of bridge that gap, and because John doesn't hold the same power as somebody from within USA Team Handball because he doesn't have an official title. But he was able to help make the connection and stir the pot up a little bit, which ended up, I think, really getting the deal done. So I know that I personally was just reading through the tournament manual and emailed Sport 5 as the rights owner for the tournament, and they connected me with the Sports 5 team in the US who had been trying to get in contact with US Team Handball, but there was some technical difficulties. So once we bridged that gap, it kind of showed the level of interest for both parties, and it's one of those things that we were just very fortunate that we got all the right people in the right conversation happening. So it was great.
yeah, that's fantastic. Hopefully, a lot of people are using ESPN Plus to watch it.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern for us is how many people actually have ESPN Plus. It's more than people who have access to be in sport, but especially now with
Yeah.
most people not realizing they have ESPN Plus because of like the Disney Plus and Hulu kind of deals, like package deals. So like my wife, for instance, she got rid of Netflix and got the Disney Plus, Hulu Plus package, which also includes ESPN Plus. And I was like, hey, that's a win for me, I guess. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, so I'm a big thanks to Baby Yoda out there to help, the growth of handball.
And it'll be interesting to see without USA being there now. I mean, from what I saw with clubs in the USA, they were all promoting the ESPN Plus, watch the US games. I mean, it sounded like, or for social media, it was a big push in the States from everybody to really get ESPN Plus and to watch the games.
Yep, it would have been really cool. It would have been really cool. And it's tough, obviously, but the thing is that it's definitely a good first step for us for future, similar situations. And not saying that we're going to get qualified for 2023, but I know for a fact we'll be there in 2025 and 2027. So if we can hopefully keep the spirits up until then, it's a long time, but it'd be great. And who knows, we're even working on some other media, avenues. Melissa and I were trying to work on some broadcast capabilities just via Wi-Fi that we might be able to utilize for games against Canada and things like that. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of good that I think that'll come for everybody involved down the road with ESPN.
And I'm sure with like how close you guys were, I'm sure all these guys are going to be motivated to qualify for 223. I don't think motivation is going to be an issue now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, we got a pretty young squad, so even our older guys, I'm not sure if all the older guys will be able to compete, but the majority of the team is under 25, even under 20, 23, 24. So it's a good showing, and there's some younger guys that are up and coming that will even be bigger threats by then. We got a guy right now who's just turned 16 and he's playing in Flensburg's. I did it again. He's only 15. He's playing in Flensburg's academy program. And he's a big lefty. So, and he's got a younger brother who's also going to be a big lefty. So I talked with their dad actually this week, and he said that they're both expected to be 2 meters, 2 centimeters. So whatever that is in inches, I think that's close to 6'8", I think.
Yeah, 6'8".
So yeah, they'll both be pretty big boys, which will be, great, especially have 2 big lefties. That's handball team's dream.
Oh, exactly. And last question, I won't keep you too long, is how's the feedback been throughout media and support of USA Handball through all this? I've kind of read both, like some of the countries that didn't make it because USA got the spot have kind of put out criticism about it, how US is not going, but then you hear like they did the right decision by not going and good for them and all the best. How have you seen all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I think Melissa shared something with the group about, kind of she collects all of the comments and things like that because she sees everything, and it was all mostly pretty positive stuff, making sure everybody feels better and gets better soon, comes back stronger and things like that. And I haven't seen too much of the negative side. Obviously, people were upset with us going in the first place prior to all this, between the Greenland discussion and things like that. And obviously you get the Macedonian crew that's angry that Macedonia is not in there, but they're in there now. So all those comments have gone away. But I think overall it's been pretty positive. It's been great to see that, people are generally just feel disappointed and sad for us. And it's just good to know that we got people looking out for us out there.
Yeah. Sorry, I just want to add this. How did Switzerland and Macedonia were able to like get their teams together and fly to Egypt in like a day? Do you know?
I know I read a story on the Macedonian situation is that they were fully prepared for this. They basically banked on a team not being able to compete. So they had been training. They had been self-isolating because they were very, dedicated about making sure that they can make this tournament happen. And so they already had their tests. They already had their COVID test done 72 hours prior, and basically had everything lined up so that when they got the call, they were ready to go. I don't know if it's the same situation for Swiss team, but I know that was the situation for the Macedonian team. And knowing the Macedonian people I know, I'm not surprised. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Okay. So it just they knew, were they kind of in the rankings that if a team drops out, they're the next team?
Yeah, they were first on the list. So I'm not sure if you saw, but basically the top 6 teams that were like the next teams in, it was all based on where they qualified at European Championships. I
Okay.
think I'm pretty
So
sure.
all
So
they were all European teams, the next six.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're doing well and the team is doing well, and I think that's number one, the most important. And again, congrats on all the successes with USA Handball. I know this is a hard thing, but you guys will get through it, and I'm sure there'll be
Mhm.
great things coming forward. And thank you for doing this, and stay healthy, and hopefully you can get home to your family and on the 19th.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So thanks, Mike, for having me on, and hopefully we can have some nice, clean matches between the U.S. and Canada in the future. No COVID issues on
Yeah, let's
either
hope
side.
the vaccines come out quickly here.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Well, take care. Stay safe.
Sounds good. Same to you.
Okay, thank you.